Chef Dyer here, and we're back with another video. If you've been following along, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Today we're cooking a beautiful winter squash soup with a lemon creme fraiche. My name is Joshua Dyer. I am a chef. I've traveled all over the world, cooking my way through some of the most incredible destinations. Now I'm here with over 20 years of experience, ready to share with you my secrets on how to simply cook really good food. Welcome to the Really Good Food Show. Welcome back everybody to the channel. Can't wait to cook this beautiful soul-warming soup. Lots of beautiful ingredients we have here today. So we went to the farmer's market a few days ago. We picked up some awesome stuff. If you've been following along, you've seen some of the videos. So far we've used a bunch of fresh herbs. We used that beautiful piece of flank steak. We made a beautiful chimichurri with shallots, garlic, jalapenos, red wine vinegar, olive oil. We used those gorgeous vine-ripened tomatoes, and we also used Alberta potatoes. So what we're doing today is using the rest of those ingredients we picked up to make our next recipe. I'm really excited about what we have in store today. I love making soups. Super easy. It's a great way to utilize what you have in your fridge, what you have in your pantry. So follow along at home. Recipe is linked in the description below. Okay, I'm gonna go through the ingredients we're using today. So what we have here, some beautiful winter squash. I also had this really nice piece of butternut squash that we're going to utilize today. Spanish onion, lemon, some fresh thyme, fresh ginger, garlic, leeks, and some really nice local Alberta carrots that we picked up at the farmer's market. Also to my left, we have some sour cream. This is going to be the base of our creme fraiche. I say creme fraiche because it's not a real creme fraiche, but we'll get to that later. We're gonna add a little bit of spice to that squash today. So a little bit of cinnamon, salt and pepper, olive oil, nice and simple. So the first thing we need to do when we're making a soup is we gotta start building the flavor from the ground up. So as I mentioned in that first video, when we were making that flank steak and that beautiful chimichurri, we saved all of these scraps, and we're gonna use these scraps as well as our leek trimmings, our onion trimmings, some onions, some carrot to make our stock. And that stock is gonna be the base of our soup. So that's step one. So to make a vegetable stock at home, it's super easy. Like I said, we have all these wonderful trimmings. Because we're gonna be using leeks, carrot, and onions in our soup recipe as well, we're gonna take these trimmings and use these in our stock. So all you're gonna do is just gonna take the green part off of those leeks. We'll also take the end off this leek and save that for our stock. Okay, carrot, just rough chop. Medium size is good. When we're making a vegetable stock, it's only gonna simmer for about 45 minutes. If we let that simmer too long, it's gonna become really strong in flavor. And that will really change the dynamic of our soup. We want a nice, light, aromatic stock that adds those nuances of those vegetables into our soup. So I have a Spanish onion here. We're gonna use half of it for the stock and save half for when we're roasting our vegetables for the soup. So again, for stock, just nice, simple, rustic cuts. Okay, and that all goes into our bowl. Those onion skins are gonna add a lot of flavor, but they're also gonna add a lot of color and a lot of body to our stock. Okay, so we have all the ingredients we need for our stock. We're gonna get a medium-sized pot, fill it up with water, and bring it up to a simmer. And typically when you're making a stock, you want about 50% ingredients to 100% water. That way you're gonna get a nice flavorful stock. So we're gonna fill that up all the way to the top with cold water. We wanna start with cold water. That way as the stock comes to a simmer, all the scum will slowly rise to the top and we'll be able to skim that off the top. So we're gonna start this on high heat, bring it up to a boil, skim, and then simmer for about 45 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna start the soup by roasting all of our vegetables. Whenever you roast something, you really intensify those flavors. So we have our oven preheated to about 400 degrees, and we're gonna roast all of these vegetables all together for about half an hour, 45 minutes. We'll take a peek, but basically we wanna get nice caramelization and some deep color on those vegetables. So we're gonna start by cutting the squash right in half. Make sure you have a really sharp knife and be careful. Okay, we have our squash cut in half. We're gonna scoop out the insides, and then we're gonna pick out the seeds. We're gonna save them for later. We're gonna toast those seeds with a little bit of spice, a little olive oil, salt and pepper. It's gonna be a really nice garnish on our soup. So to scoop out the insides, I just take a spoon and just go around the interior, scoop it out into our bowl. And we'll pick through those seeds and wash them off and toast them off later on. Okay, now that we've scooped out our squash, we're gonna add that right into our roasting pan. We're gonna do the same thing with this butternut squash. We're only gonna use half, and we're gonna save the other half for another recipe later on. Stay tuned. So cut it in half, take the top off, and we're just gonna peel this. Okay, and we're gonna cut the squash into quarters. And then those are gonna go right into our roasting pan. So next we have half a Spanish onion, and again we're going to save those onion skins for a stock later on. So again, this is a really rustic recipe, so we don't have to be super precise with our cuts. Basically we want everything to be somewhat uniform, that way it all cooks at the same time. So I'm just going to take my knife and just roughly chop. Okay, and then right into our roasting pan. Okay, next, we got these beautiful carrots from the farmer's market. Really, really nice. Again, the root vegetables this time of year are full of sweetness. As you can see, the skins are really nice and thin. They're not thick and tough. So we're actually gonna leave the skins on these guys because they're full of fiber, full of nutrients. If we peel these off, we're gonna lose all that fiber and all those nutrients. So I'm just gonna cut the tops off. And again, we can save those for a stock. And then just rustic. Next, we're gonna add a couple cloves of garlic. Three cloves of garlic should be good for this recipe. As you start learning the fundamentals, you can really start to play around with your ingredients, and you get a feel for, okay, 3 cloves of garlic, 2 cloves of garlic. Following a recipe is great, but the garlic can be a different size. It can be stronger depending on the time of year, depending where you're getting it from. So a lot of it really comes down to knowing your ingredients, getting to know your ingredients. Then you can really start to play with those flavors and develop some really cool recipes. Okay, now that we have our garlic peeled, again, just a nice rough chop. I'm gonna add that into our roasting pan. Okay, we're also gonna add some leeks. So same thing, nice rough chop. Right into our roasting pan. Okay, so just to quickly recap, in our roasting pan, we have our beautiful winter squash, butternut squash, onions, leeks, carrots, garlic. So we're gonna finish this off with lots of olive oil, salt and pepper, a little bit of cinnamon, and some fresh thyme. So just drizzle that olive oil right on top. So we got some nice coarse sea salt here. Make sure we get a good seasoning of salt on there. Some fresh cracked pepper. And then we're gonna sprinkle just a little bit of cinnamon. That'll add that nice wintry flavor to our soup. Okay, so last two things we're gonna add, a little bit of ginger. Ginger and carrots are the perfect combination. So this is gonna add some really nice flavor to our dish. A little hint of spice. I took the top off there. I'm just gonna use a peeler and peel the ginger. Okay, so we have our ginger peeled, and again, just a nice rough chop. Again, don't have to get super precise with our cuts today. And just right on top. Last thing we're gonna add is some fresh thyme. What you wanna do with these guys, just leave them whole and just crush them slightly in your hands, break them apart, and just sort of rub them. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna start to release the oils in those fresh herbs, and you're gonna get the maximum amount of flavor. Check that out. So lots of beautiful ingredients in there. This is gonna taste fantastic. So like I said, we have our oven preheated, about 400 degrees, and we're gonna roast all these vegetables for about 45 minutes. We're gonna keep an eye on them. Okay, now that we have our vegetables roasting away, stock is just about coming to a boil, we're gonna pick out these seeds that we're saving for some garnish on top of our soup. Get in there, use your hands. Try to get as many of those beautiful seeds that you can. Remember, this is all about minimal waste. It's all about using products multiple ways. Okay, so we have our seeds here. We're gonna just let them air dry out for a little bit, and then we'll season them up and fry them off later. Okay, now that our stock has come up to a boil, we're gonna drop this down to a simmer. We're gonna take a ladle and just skim off all that scum that starts to rise to the surface. As our stock continues to simmer away, we're gonna get our creme fraiche ready. So I just have a little bit of sour cream here that we had from the other day. So again, we're using this ingredient twice. All we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of fresh lime zest and some cracked pepper. What this is gonna do is add a really nice punch of acidity and tanginess to our soup. Another little secret on how to cook really good food. So you're just gonna take a microplane and carefully zest the lemon peel. You wanna make sure when you're doing this that you're just getting that outside of the lemon peel. You don't want to start to get the white stuff because it'll be really bitter. Okay, and we're going to finish that with some cracked black pepper. And just a little bit of sea salt. Just give that a good mix. We got a beautiful topping for our winter squash soup. Okay, so as we're waiting for our stock to finish and our vegetables to roast, we can finish up our pumpkin seeds. So we got our pumpkin seeds here. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of cinnamon, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper. Just make sure to give that a good mix. So for these guys, we're just gonna dry roast them in a pan on about medium-high heat until they're nice and crispy. When we dry roast, there's tons of natural oils in these seeds, and they'll start to leach out as we dry roast them. So right into a non-stick pan that I have here on medium-high heat, we're just gonna carefully dry those until we start to smell that nutty, roasted, toasted flavor. Remember to continue skimming your stock. That way we get rid of all that scum on top, and that's gonna give us a nice, clear, beautiful stock. So you're just gonna take your ladle and just carefully grab that scum, those bubbles that rise to the surface. Really starting to smell all those aromatics from the stock. It's gonna add a ton of flavor to our soup. Rather than just using water, that will kind of fall flat. It won't have that body, it won't have those nuances. This is gonna add a ton of nuance to our soup and really take your soup to the next level. Another secret to how to cook really good food. So we can see here our pumpkin seeds are starting to get a little golden brown, and you can really start to smell the oils of those seeds release. Make sure we keep moving them so we don't burn them. So we can see our seeds getting nice and toasty. One way to check, just carefully grab one and just make sure they're nice and crunchy. Okay, our pumpkin seeds are done. We're gonna take them off the stove, let them cool down, put them to the side for now. All right, now that our stock has been simmering for about 45 minutes, we're gonna strain it off. Just got a strainer here in another pot. We're just gonna strain off that stock, saving all of that delicious liquid. Man, it's really starting to smell like really good food in here. Okay, now that we strained off our stock, we're just gonna put that off to the side, and that's gonna be the liquid for when our vegetables are all nice and roasted and golden brown. Okay, now that our squash is beautiful golden brown, we're gonna take it out of the oven and start to finish our soup. Can't wait to show you this, guys. Just check out those beautiful roasted vegetables. Okay, now that our squash and our vegetables are all golden brown and nicely roasted, we're gonna add that into our blender with our stock and finish our soup. Okay, we have our blender here. I'm gonna carefully scoop out all the squash and add all the vegetables right inside. So with these guys, just take a spoon and carefully go around the inside of the squash. Just loosen up that flesh. Be careful, it's hot. I have chef fingers, I can do this. Don't worry, by the time you follow about 20 of my recipes, you'll have chef fingers. Okay, we're gonna add our stock just enough to cover the vegetables. We can always add a little bit more liquid if it's too thick, but we can't thicken it up if we thin it out too much. So always start with less stock and we can add more as we puree our soup. At this point, I'm also gonna season it. Salt. As you notice, I always season as we go. You don't leave the seasoning to the very end. It's important we do that. It's important we season as we cook because again, we're developing flavor. I'm also gonna get a little bit of acidity to punch up the flavor. Remember last time we talked about the importance of acid and balancing flavors. This will really brighten up the soup and bring all of those vegetables together. Okay, so I have my blender here. Everything's inside. We got our roasted vegetables, we got our stock, salt, pepper, a little bit of lemon juice. So now we're gonna puree this until it's nice and silky smooth. Texture is really important with soup. If you're making a puree style soup, you wanna make sure it's nice and silky smooth. You don't want it to be mealy or gristly. It's not pleasant on the palate. I have this Instant Pot blender here. It's a fantastic product. Maybe one day Instant Pot will sponsor me. So I'm just gonna blend this till it's nice and smooth. Texture looks nice. Smells super tasty. Now that right there is really good food. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Be sure to check us out next time because the midweek quickie is around the corner. Be sure to join us next time on The Really Good Food Show.